Good morning and thanks for joining us. I'm Ron Trevino. We're continuing to track Francine as the storm strengthens in the Gulf. Our weather team has declared a weather impact alert for today. Let's get right to Kim Castro for the very latest now. Kim.
Yeah, we have a brand new advisory from the National Hurricane Center just out for 10 o'clock. If we could take it to camera max 1, I'll be able to show you that. Here it is, 65 miles an hour right now with Tropical Storm Francine. It continues its move, but now to the north-northeast. So it's finally taken that turn and is on its path towards Louisiana. Pressure dropped to 988 millibars. Here's the latest track for the intensity and the path of Francine, expected to become a hurricane here shortly through the next couple of hours. By 7 o'clock this evening, the National Hurricane Center puts Francine as a 75-mile-an-hour wind storm and then races towards Louisiana. Notice a change with this specific track and this latest advisory, now not expected to strengthen into a Category 2 hurricane, so maintaining Hurricane 1 status, although strengthening. So by Wednesday, 7 o'clock, it's at 85 miles an hour. So it looks like the timeline has slowed down a little bit with Francine, now expected to make a landfall in the afternoon or evening hours. Previously, it was a little bit earlier on, around 1 p.m. Now the forecast calls for 7 o'clock as the time frame to watch. Notice the cone becoming a little bit more refined. So now in that path for potential landfalls, Lafayette all the way into New Orleans. Now, this could continue to shift either a little bit further east or retreat a little bit further west, again closer to Lake Charles. But for now, Lafayette is the spot that has been highlighted as a potential landfall location. Looking at our coastline now, Galveston Beach forecast is expected to see quite a bit of moisture throughout the day. That's the area that is most at risk for seeing those torrential downpours. Future track radar showing us, though, a lot of the energy expected to stay right along the coastline. A couple of outer bands impacting Livingston, Liberty, getting into Montgomery County, Harris County by 5 o'clock. That's what the models are showing, but these are going to be scattered downpours. So it's not widespread rain. You'll notice the swath of widespread moisture is off into the Gulf. Harris County's likelihood of seeing widespread downpours comes in during the late night. Maybe a couple of isolated showers streaming in for the early overnight hours. And at that point, Francine, which is a hurricane, starts making its push towards Louisiana. Our coastline is under a flood warning until 1 o'clock tomorrow. Notice the warning extended now into Matagorda as well. Matagorda, Brazoria, Galveston, and Chambers, all with that risk of getting 2 to 4 inches of rainfall. Our inland forecast looks a lot different than our coastal forecast, right? So we're going to see a lot of cloud cover, on and off, scattered showers, and the coast is the one that's going to see the majority of the moisture. And Pat, you're tracking some potential wind impacts along the coast as well.
Yeah, so I mean, the big takeaway is that it's mainly a coastal storm, as you were just showing, Kim. So that's where we're going to be expecting to see the biggest impact in terms of any rain as we go through the next 24 to 36 hours. We will also see elevated tides, surge, and erosion. So that's what the flood warning is in effect for, and that will be wind driven. But of course, monitor any changes to the forecast. There's the wind snapshot right now, the gustiest conditions down at the coast, although it is starting to become pretty breezy across the city and farther inland areas. Galveston to the Bolivar, all the way here through coastal Matagorda and Brazoria County, could see close to tropical storm force winds, but notice the core of the heavy winds, the darker reds, staying offshore for the most part as the storm makes a very close pass to us here on the upper Texas coast. Notice, though, these winds will continue through tonight, getting into tomorrow morning before things should start to settle down tomorrow afternoon. So it's a pretty small window where we have these gusts in play for the coastal areas. That's the latest right now. Still a tropical storm as we take you through the model tracks. Notice how tightly clustered all of these lines are. So there's very high confidence at this point that the center of the storm is going to stay away from us in Houston. And this differs from Beryl because it's still a few days out with Beryl. There's a wide envelope of possibilities. But right now, again, it looks like the core of this goes right into Louisiana. But again, still some peripheral impacts expected here in southeast Texas. And that's why tropical storm watches are in effect for coastal Brazoria, Matagorda counties, as you get into Chambers, Galveston counties, and even portions of southeastern Harris County. We do have that tropical storm watch that's in effect. So again, any warnings, notice tropical storm warnings and hurricane watches are right now off to the east across Beaumont, getting into Louisiana, because that's where we're expecting the core amount of impacts from this system. So this is the bottom line with impacts. We're expecting a heavy rain threat on the coast. The timing on that, again, is from tonight into Wednesday. So not much has changed in this forecast. We don't expect this to be a big flooding event either, but there is the potential for coastal flooding thanks to elevated surf, and we could even see erosion from gusty winds. Basically, again, the mantra here is to monitor this forecast and check back twice a day. All right, we've got National Hurricane Center Director Mike Brennan with us just for a few questions on what's going on. Mike, can you hear me?
Yeah, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing well, thanks. All right, new advisory just came out. Walk us through what the changes were.
Yeah, not a lot of big changes, especially for the Texas coastline. Things are sort of status quo at this point. I think the biggest news is we're starting to see Francine move and a little more steadily off, with the motion now off to the north-northeast at 8 miles per hour. So we're seeing that turn. That's going to keep the core of Francine off much of the Texas coast, including the Houston-Galveston area. We still have that tropical storm watch that's in effect for the Galveston area, a tropical storm warning east of High Island to Sabine Pass. But the potential for some gusty winds certainly along the coast, some heavy rainfall, at least in some bands. And then, as you just did mention, the potential for storm surge or some coastal flooding, 1 to 3 feet Galveston Bay from High Island down along the remainder of the Texas coast. A little more potential for some inundation where we have that storm surge warning in effect from High Island eastward, 3 to 5 feet of inundation there. And then the impacts, more severe impacts, are still going to be along the Louisiana coast as we go into tomorrow.
Now, Mike, yesterday there was a concern that this storm could undergo rapid intensification. It's obviously over some of the warmest waters in the basin at the moment. But last night we saw the core of the thunderstorms that were around the center kind of detach and lift to the north. How has that impacted the intensity forecast?
Yeah, I think, well, we sort of seen a little bit of a pause in intensification. Francine's, overall wind speed hasn't changed much since yesterday afternoon, but we are seeing the pressure start to fall now. And if you look at the radar data from Brownsville, you can see an inner core trying to reconsolidate. You see that other rain shield that's moved up now towards the Louisiana coast, but we're starting to see the shower and thunderstorm activity rebuild near the core. The environment appears pretty favorable for steady to maybe even rapid intensification here over the next 24 hours. And we still are expecting Francine to become a hurricane as soon as later today.
All right, so we're going to keep monitoring the forecast here in the upper Texas coast, but it does look like more of an issue for Louisiana. National Hurricane Center Director Mike Brennan, thank you so much for your time this morning with us.
Thanks.
All right, thank you so much, Pat. Within the last hour, Galveston County Judge Mark Henry signing a voluntary evacuation order for the Bolivar Peninsula through Wednesday night. In a tweet, the Galveston County Office of Emergency Management said they're concerned about tidal surges and impacts to State Highway 87. 87 is the only exit from the peninsula besides the ferry. Again, this order is voluntary and only for those on the Bolivar Peninsula. Right now, CenterPoint Energy is reassuring all of us that they're ready for this storm.
We know that, these things can be, can shift in a moment's notice, and being unprepared is certainly not an option. We're ready to show everybody that we have improved, and we certainly understand the service that we provide.
Right now, more than 1,300 vegetation resources have been activated, and 700 of those are already here from out of town. We have more on CenterPoint's detailed plan to stay ready on our website, khou.com. For now, that's the very latest as we continue to track Francine as the storm moves up along the Texas coastline. We'll have the very latest on the storm's path and strength today on KHOU 11 News at noon. For now, I'm Ron Trevino. We'll see you again in 90 minutes.